Hi, I'm David from LithgowLights, once again doing a quick walkthrough video on the 2015 show. We'll go for a little wander around the yard, have a look at a few of the new items and show you a little bit of the magic, I suppose, behind the show. This is the main corner of the yard where the cables come out from inside and come to part of the main control system. The one here, the top box, is a P12R controller, which does the tint poles, the candy canes, the arches, the trees, the star on the roof, as well as the Tune 2 signs, which will be retired this year. Below that, I don't know if you can see it in the frame here, is a couple of 27 channel controllers which do the window surrounds, which do the shrubs here, as well as a few other minor items in the yard. And the large box, and I don't think you're going to see that in the video, I'll show you on the magic of a video. Here it is now on the screen. The large box at the bottom does 27 channel controllers. I think there's 3, as well as power supplies for the floodlights, power supplies for a few other items in the yard, including the star on the top of the roof, which you can see in the shot now. One of the new items this year are these covers, 3D printed here and designed by me as well. They're a C7 style cover, and they actually have, if I pull one off, a flat side. That flat side allows it to sit flush against conduit or a rope or something similar, and not sit down like the other C7 covers that I use in trees, shrubs. You can see the shrubs here now. They would sit down, they would look a little bit daggy in this situation. So they were designed as a quick and nasty cover, and they've actually done really well. I put them on all the arches, and they may expand to a few other items through the year. Up here on the front deck we have one of our rope light items, as well as up here we have the Pixicles. My own design. They've been up for I think 3 seasons now, and are showing absolutely no sign of damage. They work really well. Now you probably can only just see where all the cables are going in over there. That is the control box. It's a P12R, and that is used only to about half its capacity. There's only 6 universes worth of pixels rather than a full 12 that the P12R can actually drive. Also, up here, hidden behind the Pixicles, which you can't see at night, is the power supply for the 6 singing faces, which you can see on the screen now. These 6 singing faces actually have a 27 channel controller hidden behind them in a piece of 90mm conduit, and all the cables just go into the base of that. It's got DMX in and out, and all 6 just run as a single DMX string. The last one on the end, near the star, actually has a terminator built into the case. Okay, over here we have my balls as opposed to Ben's balls, which are in the tree. And these ones here are, I'm not sure when I first made them. I'll put it up on the bottom of the screen. But they're a number of years old, and this will probably be the last year that they're actually used, simply because they're starting to really show their age and fail. They're not designed to be repairable. Once they break, and I'm down 1 this year already, once they fail, they're getting thrown out. The control box for them is here. This one here has 2 27 channel controllers in it. These ones here do draw a lot of current, and the current that they actually draw on what's shown on the bottom of the screen, I can't remember it offhand. So the 2 27 channel controllers in here were actually upgraded to allow higher current through them. Down the bottom here is the other box. It sort of matches the one at the front of the house. It is used for power supplies for the floodlights, power supplies for items such as, behind me I have the firework, as well as driving half the house outline. Behind me you can see the firework. The firework was actually designed a few years back for Katy Perry firework, and this year we actually dropped it lower to the ground, brought it back. It's for 1 year only. It's going to be scrapped this year, but it will actually come back in a smaller, lighter version with pixels on it. So that's a job for this year, but for a unit that is a number of years old, that it was made up with spare parts, it hasn't worked out too bad. Here we see some of the homemade items again. The toadstool here at the front was fiberglassed. I'll put how old they are in the bottom of the screen because again I can't remember exactly. They have a simple little 3-channel controller that John Wilson, W. John on the forum, actually designed and had made, well had the boards made, many years ago, that was designed on a Jack Pixel. Here's a photo of one of the Jack Pixels on the screen now. These things date back at least 7 years that I'm aware of, possibly older. At the back here you see my floodlights. Again, these were a W. John design board. They're a 24 volt floodlight and have alternating rows of red, green and blue LEDs. They work really well, and these things would have to be one of the oldest items in my display. Each year I have to repair a few LEDs, but they still go and go and go and never cause me problems. On the ground here, each side of the tree, you can actually see the floodlights that I use for uplighting the trees. In the next year or two, I'd like to replace all these LED floodlights with something different to actually light up the house, and utilise these ones for more uplighting in the trees. Here we have Ben's balls. Ben discovered these from Ray Wu a number of years back, and they're the only 2811 pixels that I have, and putting it mildly, I hate them. They cause me nothing but trouble. These things leak. The 2811s, as you can see behind me, require power as well as a data cable simply to be reliable. A lot of other people have had no problems with 2811s. Based on the only set of 2811s I've got, I hate them. But I'll continue to use them until I run out of spares. In front of me here is the last year that the Santa poles will actually be used. The Santa poles are simply some dumb LEDs inside a glass. Actually, I'll do that. Inside a glass cover. They have lasted and lasted and lasted. Next year I'm going to replace the pole with a tint tube, and hopefully I'll 3D print a larger ball, something about this large I'm hoping, for the top of them. We'll have to wait and see if that gets done and how they look. Here's the mega tree. This is the last night that the show is actually running, hence it's starting to look a little bit sick when it comes to tension of the strings. The strings are actually on a piece of 3mm black rope. They're cable tied on each LED so that the strain is actually taken by the rope, not the LED. At the bottom is a piece of shock cord or some black elastic that normally pulls down with a reasonable amount of force. During the month they need tightening once or twice, and being the last night they're starting to show their age. Down the bottom is a P12S controller. So next year I'll be using some of the DMX points from this to control the DMX items in the yard. Okay, out the front here we have the rose garden here, and the rose garden is driven by a Pix 88, which is one of my oldest pixel controllers. Hidden in a box. I don't know if you can quite see it in the corner of the screen there, hidden in a box in the middle there. That drives 4 sets of LEDs, each one 168 pixels long, as well as one of the spare outputs drives, hidden in the tree here, the 12-pointed stars. These 12-pointed stars are of a design I found on Thingiverse and have been a really big hit this year. There's only 9 of them in the tree here. They're sort of hidden until they really do light up, and they have been really well received. Next year I plan on probably in the order of 20 of those stars. There'll be about 10, maybe 12 in the tree here, and there'll be a few in each of the large trees across the front. So I may end up doing more than 20, maybe 25, 30. Another item that I did this year was the LED covers for the trees. They're also on top of the mega tree, as you can see here. These covers are 3D printed, and are based on a C7 designed light from the US. Fairly short, more of a pointed top than the ones that Phil produces, and I use 950 of them on my trees here. You can see a photo here of the difference between the uncovered and the covered pixels, as well as a photo now of what they look like at night with the LED covers on. Behind me you can also see the LED matrix. That is 2080 LEDs in a 65 by 32 matrix. That thing is quite a few years old. You can see the original build date now, as well as some photos when I was building it. That one there is going to be rebuilt for next year. Same size, same design, just a few little modifications in terms of waterproofing, as well as repair a little bit of damage that has been done over the years. Because of the risk of people coming into the yard, and we had adults and children walk into the yard, this year we put up a fence along our driveway to stop access into the yard completely. Okay, what that did allow me to do was put the tint poles onto the fence rather than having them driven on a stake in the ground. These little brackets were 3D printed and should hold up fairly well. I've actually got a mix of PLA as well as ABS ones to see how they handle the temperature, how they handle weathering. I'm going to leave a few of them up this year, so hopefully I'll get an indication as to whether ABS untreated, they're not sprayed or anything like that, unlike my LEDs, I'll get an indication of how they last in the weather in Australia over the next, say, 6 or 12 months. Here you can see the Bethlehem star on the roof of the house. The small box behind it is actually a P2 in a piece of fairly small conduit, and power is actually supplied from the box at the front of the yard. This allows quite a number of pixels to be put up there, and hopefully next year I might have a bit of a different design for running the pixels rather than having the P2 sitting up on the roof. We'll have to wait and see what Stellascapes and Andrew comes up with. Something to be aware of is security. What you don't want is people actually walking into your yard. You want to maintain that sort of distance so people can't grab stuff from your yard. Most of the items in my yard can't be reached from out the front. I do have cameras, as you can see here, and there is a total of 7 cameras in the front yard, some of them hidden, some of them quite plain, and they do monitor every square inch of the yard. The control box for the 12 trees is actually hidden behind the trees. You can barely see it at night. It sort of blends in fairly well, and it contains 2 27-channel controllers. Originally I had 10 trees, now I only have 9 since I changed to this white variety. A quick thing about power supply. All my power supplies come from here under the front deck where they're out of the weather. One piece cable goes all the way across and goes to the boxes without a joint anywhere in the cable.